once, it's worth doing twice. Let's do it again.
Well, I'm going downtown, I'm gonna buy me a sack of flour. I'm gonna cook it every hour, keep my skillet good and greasy all the time, time. Skillet good and greasy all the time.
Or they think people will be mad if they don't, and sometimes people will legit be mad if they don't bring that one thing that they make that's really awesome. And then there are people like us who every potluck is a competition. Every chance to bring a dish is.
I don't know that I'm feeling like I'm in that taxonomic.
Well, that makes one of us because because every time it's a potluck, it's like now is my chance to win this potluck. So tonight we're going to give you some dishes that are going to help you win your potluck.
You know, I have to tell you, Jonathan, that one of the things that I have given myself the last few years, because honestly, I'm kind of not feeling Christmas yet. I usually don't feel it till after finals are over, and this has been a hard year. I think a lot of people aren't going to be feeling Christmas this year. And so I want to give you the gift of not taking anything to a potluck except your appetite. There's always too much food. It always gets thrown away. It becomes just part of that excess that is the commercial hellhole that Christmas can be for some of us. I don't mean to bring us down, but I'm giving you permission to don't take anything to the potluck. Be a plate and cut person. Take a bottle of soda. Better yet, if you're coming to my potluck, bring a bottle of wine. But you don't have to take anything.
You don't have to.
Your appetite is welcome enough. And of not feeling like you have to go into the kitchen and make a bunch of really hard to make stuff or gifts just because people are giving you stuff. Give yourself the gift of just graciously accepting something and then going and laying on the couch and having a nice cocktail and enjoying it.
But if you would like to bring something,
we've got stuff.
We've got some stuff, and tonight I'm in particular. I'm going to show you a few things that I think are what I'm going to call high joy, low effort.
High joy, low effort.
So if we're talking about that, we're graphing the joy versus the effort involved. The dishes that I've got for you tonight are things that are not difficult at all, that are really and certainly not time consuming, but that they will make people happy. Now I'll tell you.
So if you're going to have a taxonomy and you're going to graph joy and effort, I feel like we need like one of those.
We need a whiteboard.
Or how in football they draw the things.
Yeah, we just draw it.
I want that to happen.
So at some point,
let's get our tech team.
Yeah, we'll get the massive technological staff of the settlement school on that. Now, one place that I have a niche, and Jenny, I imagine you probably have the same niche. Some places is that at my workplace and in some other places I end up, there are a lot of vegetarians. And it seems like somebody's always asking me, "Hey, you like to cook? You do this pretty well. Do you know any vegetarian dishes?" So I'm always looking for a great potluck dish and for vegetarians. And I look in different places. One place I really like to look is Yotam Ottolenghi's books, which they're always great, and they always have showstopper veggie dishes in there. But the one thing I try not to think of is healthy. I have a friend that I pretty much grew up with. It was one of the first people I knew who was a vegetarian, and she told me once that she really got offended when everybody assumed that because she was a vegetarian, she wanted to be healthy. That when she, that when you went to the pub and you got the black bean burger, they wanted to serve fruit salad with it. She said, "No, I can eat fries. I really can, and I want to." So
as long as they're not cooked in duck fat, right?
Yeah. So I want to. So I've got a few showstoppers. So one of the things that I wanted to do tonight was a vegetarian dish that's a little bit. And I'm going to go to the stove in just a minute, so I'll give our stove camera people a warning. Wanted to do something that's indulgent, that's delicious, and that and that I think stands up in a potluck. I'm going to borrow a little of your olive oil.
Go right ahead.
And I'm going to go over to the stove. Now, what I've been doing over here is cutting up some cauliflower. And cutting up a cauliflower is really easy. You just, and I'm actually going to have Tam, do you mind running back and rinsing that real quick? Cutting up a cauliflower is easy. And here's my hot take on cauliflower. A lot of people want to use cauliflower as a substitute for other things. They want to either use it as a substitute for meat or a substitute for pizza crust or something like that. And to me, cauliflower is a lousy substitute for anything, but it's delicious on its own. So whenever you've got something like that involves cauliflower, don't think of it as, this is a buffalo chicken dip, except it's got cauliflower in it. Think of the cauliflower as its own thing. And I think that makes a big difference. I've got a cast iron skillet here going, a 9-incher or so. They're really that's fine. That's what I wanted. It's got a little olive oil in it, so I've got that heating up. I've rinsed my cauliflower, and it is a little bit wet, and I want it that way because I'm going to steam this a little bit. So it's okay to go ahead and rinse it and not dry it as much as you would ordinarily need to. So I'm going to go ahead and add that to my hot skillet.
And I think what you said, Jonathan, about not thinking of cauliflower as a substitute, I think that's kind of the key to any good vegetarian dish. Don't think of it as replacing something else. Think of it as delicious in its own right.
Yeah. I'm going to add a little salt.
Kudos to Hyman Settlement School for having the salt that Samin Nasrat recommends.
Diamond Crystal, yes.
Diamond Crystal.
A lot of chefs like it.
They use that in their delicious spice blend, which is a great Christmas present. You should get on their website and order some now for everybody you know.
Everybody you know.
Their signature blend, I put it on everything. I love it.
And I'm a Morton's kosher salt guy because it only matters to certain nerds of a certain stripe, but it weighs the same as water.
Why does that matter to a certain
It matters
nerd?
sometimes when I want to make a brine or when I want to make when I'm making a sauce or something that I'm using a lot. It weighs the same as water. So now I've put a lid on that. So I'm just letting a little bit of steam. I'm going to steam that for about 5 minutes, and just let it go, and then just let it get a little bit soft. And then I'm going to come back and try to get some color on it. I'm going to get it browned up a little bit. And so while we're doing that, Jenny, what on earth are you doing over here?
Well, we usually consult with what we're doing together, and this week we didn't. And it turns out we're both doing vegetarian things. So I've got 2 vegetarian mains because, like I said, Christmas, this has been kind of a hard year. And it's, I feel like I love me some gluten, and I love me some meat. But I have a lot of friends that don't eat either. And I feel very often when I go to a party or a potluck, sometimes there's nothing for those people. So the way I'm winning this potluck is I've got one appetizer that's vegan and gluten-free, and then I'm going to make another one in a little bit that's vegetarian. It has eggs in it, and also gluten-free. So I feel like I'm so happy that I can eat gluten because I dearly love it. But so many people are unable to eat it, and it can be very difficult for them to go out. And we love to feed people. Like that's what we do. It's what makes us happy. And so being able to feed all of our people is really important to me. So I love Brussels sprouts. I adore Brussels sprouts. So what I've done here is I've taken some Brussels sprouts and I've just parboiled them. You could also steam them. And then I'm taking them and I'm smashing them with the bottom of a glass. And then I'm just touching them in a little olive oil, and I'm putting them on this cookie sheet. And I'm going to put some seasoning on them, and then I'm going to put them in the oven until they get crispy. And with those, I'm going to make a dipping sauce with nutritional yeast, which is one of my very favorite flavors. It's full of B vitamins. It's really good for you. I don't care. It's delicious. I love it so much, and I go through these phases where I make like a salad dressing with it, or just, I don't even know if this is salad dressing because I put it on everything, and I'll just walk by and eat it sometimes when I'm in the refrigerator just with a spoon.
Brussels sprouts get a bad rap because they, I think it's because so many people have, most of their experience with Brussels sprouts has been when they've been steamed. They've just been kind of made just not terribly good.
My grandfather, whom I did not know because he died before I was born, but my mother told me that my grandfather used to call them little educated cabbages, and I've just always loved that.
Yeah, I can see that.
It makes me happy.
But to me, when you roast it, especially, it tends not to be quite as, what's the word I'm looking for, flatulent, maybe.
Well, I feel that way about all cruciferous vegetables. You know, broccoli, cauliflower.
Yeah, always better off to roast those things.
For sure, 100%.
Nice. So I'm letting all that steam.
Can we bring in our
Are you
special
ready?
guest?
Are you ready to roll?
So it's been a very exciting time for us in Hazard. We've been very proud to have our very own Tamara Sapp represent the entire Central Appalachian region, I will go so far as to say, at the
National
Gingerbread Competition in Asheville. And she created the most beautiful creation, which is still there in Asheville. If you want to go and see it, you can, up at the Grove Park Inn. But she's here tonight to give us some gingerbread tips. So Tamara, bring it on in, sister.
Tamara Sapp with Gingerbread
She
Corner.
also made a gingerbread goose. If you've been to Hazard and seen the building, the Mother Goose, Tamara recreated that in gingerbread, and I think that's available to see at the Art Station on Main Street.
Yeah,
so
I'm
this
told
weekend,
next week,
this weekend is Christmas in a small town in Hazard. Bring the kids. We have ice skating on fake ice, so don't worry that it'll melt. There'll be all kinds of fun stuff going on. So check that out. And as well, here at Hyman Settlement School on Saturday is our Christmas extravaganza. I think Santa will be here. I'm not sure because there have been a lot of bad boys, not so many girls in the region, but. You know, we'll see if Santa shows up, but there's going to be some good food. There's going to be ham and macaroni and cheese and some appetizers. And that's at 5 o'clock on Saturday here at the Hyman Settlement School. So come on out for that. There'll be gifts for the first 200 children who show up. So lots of fun stuff happening in the region. All right, talk gingerbread to me, baby.
Okay, and this is just a wilting kit because I've been making a buttload of gingerbread and I'm tired of making gingerbread for at least a week.
Listen, okay,
shut
wait, I have to tell this. So she like slaves away to get this gingerbread ready for Asheville, and she's like, I can't, last month she couldn't come to the show because she's working on her gingerbread.
So
she
on the
can't
drive
talk to
down-
anybody, she can't do anything.
On the drive down, she says, I'm just so glad December I won't have to worry about doing any more gingerbread projects.
done
I
with
don't have to do
gingerbread
this
for now.
anymore."
I
She
don't
was-
care for y'all's tone.
She
is
was
all
not
I'll
home.
say.
She was not home for an hour. She was home for less than an hour before she had started back on another project, and that's because she just went to this thing and got just insanely inspired. I mean, I understand.
It is just the
And
best thing
you've got
ever.
all these people who are doing these crazy projects, so I can't imagine not coming back and being inspired. So she came back and started a whole other thing that you can see at the art station.
I tried to get her to do, you may or may not know that our beloved goose lost its head 2 years ago. The head just fell off because the building was in such poor repair, and it's been replaced now and it's lovely. But when Tamara said, I don't know, am I crazy for doing this? I said, you could do it with the head off. You could just make the head separate and lay it down. But no, she went the full.
Well, no, it almost had the entire body separate from the bottom because at 11 o'clock the night before I finished it, I dropped the whole plastic thing and busted in like.
But you fixed it. Tell us when you do this. You can tell us how you fixed it. Give us some gingerbread tutelage.
Okay. So the first issue that most people have with gingerbread if they're not used to doing it is you got to plan ahead. If you don't have at least some vague idea of where you're going with this, it's gonna look like your 3-year-old did it, even if it was your 47-year-old self. So it doesn't have to be an elaborate plan, just a rough idea of like if you want to do colors, what kind of candy you want to use.
I'm a big fan of the Necco wafer shingles for the roof.
It is the only acceptable use for Necco wafers
Yeah, I
because
think so.
nobody eats them.
Tim
My
Dunn
God.
actually likes them.
Ew.
I mean, I don't want to be judgy, but ew.
Yeah, that's wrong.
So if you don't want to go to the trouble of baking your own, the kits are a lot of fun. One thing you want to do regardless is you see how this little edge is completely crappy to try to hold stand up any kind of straightness because it's all raggedy and weird. When you try to set something like that up on a flat surface, it's not going to sit flush. It's going to be a pain in your butt. You don't want to deal with it.
Now, see, that is
So-
a gingerbread tip that I never knew, and I've made a lot of gingerbread.
Well, and
over
Well,
the
if you're
years.
using the kit and you use the little easy build thing that has
Well, I
like,
usually make
the
my own.
depressions in it, that you can just set it in.
I usually make my own. If I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna make my own.
Yeah, I mean that's my personal.
One year
preference.
I lived in a place called Sisterville, and one year I made all of Sisterville in gingerbread.
Oh,
And then it
that's
got auctioned
awesome.
off, and of course, my brother-in-law bought it because who else would want our?
Right, I get it. But the way to fix that is with regular old sandpaper. I just have some 60 grit sandpaper that I've smoothed all that out on. So now it's flat, it's even. When I sit it up, it's not gonna wobble around. That's one less thing I have to fight with.
And your cake plate is beautiful. now.
Well, that's the other thing, that if you're gonna take this as like an edible centerpiece, which if you wanna win, you wanna bring food, decor, and entertainment all in one package. And, you know, that way you can have it set up and bring little candies, let people decorate it, and then at the end of the night, hit it with a hammer and eat it.
I love gingerbread. I love gingerbread as a potluck thing, and you know, I've made, and you've made, Tamara, the little super easy ones with graham crackers.
Yeah, I've
that you
never
sort of
done
saw.
the graham crackers.
I
thing,
love to
no.
do that, and one year I took all the stuff to do that to a family party where there were a lot of little kids, and I helped the kids make it, which allowed their parents to sit in the other room and drink wine, and that was a lot of fun because they're pretty easy. You know,
Right.
they're
Would
They're
just throw me
forgiving, you know, if
an
you break
open
it, you
can
can just
over
fix
there,
it.
baby. The
But
other,
you made this cake plate, did you not?
yeah, this
I want-
is
hold it up
just
so everyone
an
can
old
see it.
vintage
It's really
plate
lovely.
that somebody who was clearing out their mother-in-law's
really
house
beautiful.
had, and a little sherbet cup that I epoxied together, and now I have a really fancy cake plate that cost me like $5. The other thing with the gingerbread kit, this stuff, sometimes it's great, sometimes it is complete crap. It is really erratic, so it is worth spending the 5 minutes to make your own roll icing.
Do you make yours with egg whites or do you use the powdered egg whites?
Oh, I use the liquid egg whites because I'm not separating eggs. I'm lazy.
Well, and then you waste the yolks and feel bad about it.
Oh no, I make custard and eat it, and then I feel bad
Then
about
I would
overeating.
waste the yolks and feel bad about it.
Well, I don't feel that bad about overeating, but you know, clearly. But I bought one of these kits to use at Christmas last year with my niece, and it went together okay. But then when I went to move it, the whole thing just fell apart.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
That's heartbreaking.
Not
So
that
my
heartbreaking.
gingerbread story is that there was a woman named Georgia Kirkpatrick who lived in Hazard for many years,
Can I have another can here?
and she
There's some over on the end.
she lived up on top of George's Mountain, where now our good friends Jennifer Weaver and Chris Dahl
Thank you,
and
baby.
Jerry Roll and the wonderful William Higgins and
That's nice.
Bettina live. But Georgia lived up there, and she used to make a gingerbread house for every child in the Presbyterian church.
Oh my God.
She would make a gingerbread house for every child, and so she would make one for my child, even though we were such pagans we never showed up at church. But she loved Carson, she loved my son. And so when she died, I decided that I was gonna not make one for every child, but I decided that I would, you know, do gingerbread. And so for many years we did Gingerfest. Catherine Morgan and I would pile up at my house or her
really?
house, and we would have all the kids, and we would, a lot of times we would bake the gingerbread from scratch. My niece Beth, who's an amazing artist, one year we did gingerbread houses and we auctioned them off at Christmas for charity.
So is that
Um,
how you did the?
That's why I did all of
got the
Sisterville.
idea for doing the fundraiser at Bobby Davis Park that time.
Yes,
That-
exactly, yeah. And so,
Because that was actually the first time I had ever made any kind of gingerbread.
oh, I love to hear that. But yeah, I've always enjoyed it, and I kind of have fallen off of doing it because my own children are older now, but it's something that I really love, whether it's a super easy buying kits or super easy, look this up on, like Google this, Google the graham cracker gingerbread houses, because they're tiny and they're adorable.
They're
You can
so
make them
cute.
and like not put a roof on them and drop a votive candle in them, and your house would smell like cinnamon. And
Ooh,
it's
that would
just,
never
they're
have
just kind of
occurred to me.
fun. And my thing about gingerbread houses and children is let them mess it up. You know, don't micromanage your child's gingerbread house, for the love of all, and let them eat all the
Let them
candy.
have all the
Let
fun.
them eat all the candy. and
That
go
is
to
half
sugar
the
coma.
fun of using a lot of candy in gingerbread is, you know, eating the candy.
Absolutely. I'm just gonna real quickly show you. I've got my Brussels sprouts kind of smashed, and I've just sprinkled them with salt and a little nutritional yeast, and I'm going to put them in an oven at pretty high heat, 425, and they're going to crisp up, I hope, and I'm going to slide those in. It's awful quiet when that fan goes off.
It is.
So, Tamara, what are
Yes.
your all's plans for Christmas? Like, what things do you have planned?
As little as we can get by with,
I'm
honestly.
feeling kind of as little as we can get by with myself.
I feel like we've been running around so much, and I drive so much for work and everything like that. But this year I said I'm going to minimize the amount of time I have to spend in the car. And it might mean I miss a few things, and that's fine. I'm pretty happy to spend a little. I mean, definitely want to see the family and everybody, but pretty happy to see
Right.
some of it myself too.
I love the way that you're using this can to prop up the house as you build. That's a really
you
good
have
trick.
to have something
Well,
to
that's a
hold
good.
it up.
Can you see
because-
this? Can you all see this? So she's just got a can in here that she's using just sort of prop it up until that icing sets, which happens pretty quickly, right?
If you have good royal icing, yeah.
I'm also impressed that you're like cleaning it with a Q-tip.
Well, that's the other thing that makes it look really finished and fancy, is cleaning all the
That is a
stuff
tip I
out
never-
of the.
So if you had to say like the 3 biggest tips you learned, or the 3 biggest inspirations, which probably are 2 different questions, from
Completely
the
different
national.
questions.
Okay, 3 biggest tips you learned from the National Gingerbread Festival.
Oh, most of those are probably beyond the beginner thing, but
Tell us
definitely.
anyway.
Okay, so I was talking to a guy that uses a laser cutter on his gingerbread. He and his wife are the
Seems a
reason
little
that.
over the top.
Yeah, but the results are amazing. They're the reason that now there's rules about how much mechanically produced stuff you can have in your piece. Yeah. Do you remember the hot rod Santa that won a few years ago, with all the intricate little
Yeah,
gears?
that was a laser
Yeah,
cutter.
that was them. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So they had to make a new rule for those folks.
So is it a separate category, or can you just not do it now?
No, you can do it, but it can only be like 30% of your stuff. The rest of it has to be hand done.
So what else?
So he was talking about you putting his dough through a pasta roller and rolling it in different directions, like you do pasta dough when you. Yeah. And because apparently that strengthens the gluten and aligns all
That
the
makes
little
sense.
strands.
You know
and-
what
yeah.
would be good for that? My beaten biscuit machine.
Ooh,
If you want
yeah,
to come, if you want to come strengthen your gluten next year.
perhaps.
Come on over. I also want to point out, if you could just hold up your icing
Yes.
bag again. This is just a Ziploc bag that she's just snipped a little. You don't have to
Yeah,
have
there is
fancy
nothing I'm using
pastry
tonight that you
piping.
can't pick up at the dollar store, honestly. Well, maybe that one little spray thing, but everything you can do, you can either pick up at Walmart, the dollar store. You know, it does not have to be an expensive hobby. It can be an expensive hobby.
It gets there. But
Oh,
it's,
shush.
I wasn't complaining. I was agreeing with you.
But if it's something that you enjoy doing, you know, having all the fun tools it's completely unnecessary, but a lot of fun.
So Tamara, do you spend the year like? Do you see candy and think, ooh?
I
Yeah,
don't
I don't
actually
feel like
use
you
a lot
use
of
that much
candy most
candy,
of
do
the
you?
time. I mean,
She sees-
I do, but not always.
She sees everything and thinks of it that way.
goes
She thinks
in.
of, we'll be walking through a neighborhood and she'll see a detail on a house and think that would be,
Ooh, that would be
cool to
so
do.
cool. Yeah.
I love that your Santa Claus was modeled after our very own Jim Webb.
Well, if you're gonna have, you know, a jolly white-haired guy from Appalachia, who else would you make him look
Fair
like?
point. Fair point.
All right.
Want me to slide out of your way, baby?
That's looking great. So I'm going to be back over at the stove in a minute, and we'll for the next phase of the cauliflower. You see, that's gotten nice and brown. I've gotten some decent browning on that. So that's gone for about what I did for about 5 minutes with the lid on, and then about 10 minutes with the lid off, so that it's got a little color on it. Now I'm going to add about half a stick of butter to that pan.
I love any recipe that requires half a stick of butter.
Yep.
A whole stick is better.
I bet he's going to use the other. I bet he's going to use the other half soon.
I'll
That
use it
looks
for something. I'm sure.
beautiful, Jonathan. Look at that
Yeah.
browning.
I'm going to add that, and then the next thing I'm going to add is a little some of my favorite substance. One of my favorite substances on earth Frank's Red Hot. To me, if you want buffalo, if you're talking about buffalo flavor, accept no substitutes other than Frank's. This is the original. This is, and this is what this to me is the flavor of buffalo. So if we're doing a buffalo cauliflower, I'm using a whole cup of it. That's one of the reasons.
I'm interested that you say that because I'm kind of a Pete's girl myself.
See, I mean, I'm a fan of Pete's, of it too. But this is, I'm going to use a whole cup of this. And this is why you buy this. They sell these at Costco in a 2-pack. And so I'm going to add that. And I'm going to stir that in with that butter now that it's melted. And I'm going to let that reduce just a little bit. So I'm going to cook that until it's mixing all that up. And just let that reduce a touch. Just for a few minutes.
Well, Jonathan, while you're over there and while the camera's over there, I'm going to go ahead and start some of my sweet potato kind of latkes. Mm-hmm. I don't want to claim that this is at all authentic, that it's not an authentic latke. And when I was thinking about doing the show, I was really wishing that I had a waffle maker that was not a Belgian waffle maker, so one that was pretty thin, but I don't. And so I decided that I would just do kind of fake latkes. But I have grated up some sweet potatoes here. I did about 3 this size potatoes, and got a little bit of onion grated up in there as well, and about 3 eggs. You kind of just have to eyeball this, really. And then I've got some grated raw onion in it as well, and I put a pretty healthy dose of turmeric in it, partly because I love turmeric, partly because it makes it a beautiful golden color, and partly because it's actually really good for you. And I figure if I'm making this thing for this potluck and I'm trying to win this potluck, I want to make people feel good. I want to make people feel healthy. So I'm going to heat up my cast iron pan, first by turning on the wrong eye, as I always do. And then I'm just going to drop these. I've got a little scoop in here, and I'm just going to sort of drop it in scoops and get those a little bit crispy, and then I'll put them in the oven to stay warm. So this looks fabulous. That's quite a bit. That's more liquid than I would have expected.
Yeah, and that's why we're going to cook a little bit of it off, not too much. But then we're also going to be blending this with some other things here in just a few minutes. I think that now would be a good time for a break, or do you want to get your latkes on first?
I think this would be a good time for a break.
I think this is a good time to pause for some messages.
Latke making, like sausage making, is probably best not seen, because I'll probably burn the first few. And that is the key to making good latkes, pancakes, anything you're frying. Be willing to toss out the first one.
Yeah, that's what your dog is for.
That's what your dog is for.
So you are watching What's Cooking Now, coming to you from the Heinemann Settlement School. I'm Jonathan.
It's the world's only live cooking show that we know of.
That we know of. I'm Jonathan. That's Jenny. We'll be right back.
Take your pointer finger, and I want you to mash down all the blue dots with one finger.
Okay.
Just one finger. Yeah. And hold it flat.
Anything?
Hold it flat so you cover up all the strings.
Our Pick and Bow program is more than just music lessons. It's a way for young people to express themselves through music. Our wonderful team of music teachers seek to empower students to develop their own unique voice through music. Learning to play an instrument is often not an easy task. It's hard work, but it teaches valuable life skills like collaboration, active listening, and creative problem solving. And when young people are given the tools to be successful at something difficult, the confidence that emerges from that serves them in every area of their life. Bluegrass and traditional music is often played in group settings. And we believe this is really important because it helps young people connect with themselves and with others and their community and see their role in a group. And how do you add to the group sound, and how do you listen to what's going on around you and add to it? And because we focus on teaching traditional Appalachian instruments and songs, young folks are not only learning about Appalachian music, but they are actively participating in the rich musical traditions of Appalachia and Eastern Kentucky and claiming it as their own.
The Red Spotted Newt is a locally owned independent bookstore located in downtown Hazard, Kentucky, specializing in Appalachian literature from authors such as Silas House, Gurney Norman, and Annette Clapsaddle, among many others. The Newt also offers a full collection of art and gifts, including Little Bubby Child prints and these sweet cards inspired by The Office. Check out their store located at 221 Memorial Drive in Hazard, or shop online through bookshop.org. And be sure to follow them on Facebook and Instagram at the handle Red Spotted Newt.
Welcome back to What's Cooking Now, the world's only live cooking show that we know of.
That
Actually,
we know
it's
of.
probably really not, but
No,
I haven't really examined
I haven't
this,
really.
so.
I don't really look.
Yeah.
But tonight we're bringing you how to win your potluck, win your Christmas potluck. Some dishes that we think will absolutely.
Are we both doing all vegetarian stuff?
I think we're doing vegetarian. Mine is certainly not vegan. Mine is far from vegan. But
Mine's not. Well, one of mine is vegan.
But let's get back over here to my cauliflower. So that's cooked. You can see that some of that liquid is reduced a little bit. It does smell a little bit like hot sauce in here, so you gotta love that. Now I'm gonna turn
I do love that.
I'm gonna go ahead and turn my burner off because I'm gonna add a couple more things. I'm gonna add some sour cream. This is so I'm gonna add about a half cup of sour cream, about half of this thing, thereabouts.
This is like, there's no way that this could be anything but delicious.
And then I'm going to add some cream cheese. And I've got just one brick of cream cheese, which is 8 ounces. And I'm going to stir that in. It's going to take a little bit of effort to get all that. It's kind of busted up and stirred in. But that is, so yeah, that's my next step, and that's the next part. So you've got some latkes in there, Jenny.
I do have some latkes in here, and they're frying up. So I've just sort of pressed them down a little bit, like I said, because I want to get them kind of crispy. So they're kind of cooking up. I'm going to watch them. Right before the show started, I was trying to pre-cook a few, and I burned them because I walked away from them. I'm the world's worst. I
do that. I'm very bad about that.
Never be allowed to fry anything. So I think these are a fun thing to take for a potluck because you really could make them ahead of time and then just crisp them in the oven before you serve them.
Mm-hmm.
So I like things that are kind of make ahead, especially since it seems like a lot of potlucks are at work or right after work.
Yeah, it's always timing, and then and you really don't want to do things for a potluck that involve a whole lot of, I'm going to come in and take your stove over for, the next for the hour before the party.
Right.
You want to try to make it
That's
as easy as you
100%
can.
True. So while this is cooking, we have another guest tonight, Kate Clemens, if you can come down here. So Kate's my niece, and she's an amazing cook and an amazing person and a wonderful human being. And she's been working here in Hyman since the flood at Kate's Food Tent in the Jerry Wicker parking lot. So tell us a little bit about how did you start that? Wait, before she starts, I just want to tell this story. So when the flood first happened and nobody kind of knew what was going on and everybody was kind of at wit's end, Kate was seeing these posts on Facebook of people who were like sort of stranded. And so she worked with Mitch McConnell's office to start getting people, to get helicopters in before the Guard even started
The night of the flood,
the
yeah.
night of the flood to rescue people. So in her apartment, it looked like the Oval Office or something. I mean, she had like stuff spread all over and she was doing all this stuff. And how did that morph, Kate, into feeding people in Knott County?
I really don't know. I feel like you should ask Bella. So my niece who lost her home, or cousin lost her home in the flood, moved in with me. She said every morning she woke up, it was just like a reality show. So I never spoke with that, Jenny, but yes, that's true. I didn't really want that out there, but.
So how do you feed people?
Okay, well you brought up the helicopter. So how this all started, the first time the flood, I just saw pleas for help. They were drowning, so I called 911 and they said they couldn't help. So they come and stay on line and pray with them. So I said, absolutely not. So then I called contacts in Washington and I said, I need a chopper to rescue people. And that's how that started. It really is just the need, what the need is. So the first night of the flood, it was people need rescue. I don't work with an organization or a business. It's just finding a need and filling it. However, I have to do that. So then after people were rescued, I just saw Operation Barbecue in Food City parking lot, and I knew that people need food. People were stranded. They didn't have a way to prepare meals. They didn't have a way to get out of their homes. So I pulled in. I said, how many meals can you get me? And they said up to 5,000. So I just started calling different areas to say, how many meals do you need? Hazard was fine. They had World Central Kitchen. Next I called Buckhorn. They had World Central Kitchen. Then I Googled Knott County Sportsplex. They needed food. So then I just had drop points at the Sportsplex, different churches, and then I put my personal intent at Hyman City Hall. So initially I was bringing 5,000 meals a day, and then it went down to 1,000 because as places started to reopen to prepare for school, my tent was the only one that didn't close down. So I had that 1,000 meals a day need to be met. So I'm still doing that. We're just started 5 months in. Jenny, what do you want me to explain? So I don't work with anyone.
I think it's really easy because there are so many
And
climate disasters. There are so many climate disasters all over the world right now. It can be really easy to kind of, not for us because we're right in the middle of it, right? But it's kind of easy sometimes, I think, to forget about Appalachia.
They're not okay. Like there's so many needs. So it's not just about food. It's like what else does Knott County need? Because it's winter. They need help. They need building supplies. They need heaters. So people think just because they didn't lose their home, like, oh, if they still have their home, they're okay. They're not. So
like
when the flood came
a lot of
in,
people don't have gas, right?
yes. So I'm a lot of people's only meal. So the senior citizen building washed out. So the people who went to the senior citizen building, I'm feeling that need. I'm their meal. And a lot of people, Knott County runs on gas. So without gas, you don't have a stove to cook on. You don't have a hot water heater. You can't dry your clothes. So I'm providing those hot meals also. But also, aside from food, at night I'm working on building supplies, HVAC systems, because the flood, even though they have a roof, the flood went so high up, they did rip out the floor, cut out half the walls, all the appliances. So there is a need, like it's not okay. So any way that anyone wants to help, I need volunteers, I need donors. I don't touch the money. If you want to donate, I connect you directly to my vendor, which is 4 days a week, Food City. And building supplies if you want to send Lowe's gift cards or if you want to come help me build. But the people aren't okay. We're very far out from being okay. And we're into December and there's nowhere for them to get building supplies or get help. So you all can look me up on Facebook. It's Kate.Clemens. Didn't expect to hop on.
Okay, well, let's talk about something a little more fun. What are you going to be cooking this holiday season?
Well, my mom sort of canceled the holidays. I don't know, whatever you
Girl,
tell
we
me.
got the holidays back on.
Well, I'm going to make, so Jenny's my aunt, my favorite aunt. I think Annie might be watching. So for the holidays, my grandma Edith is the best. She exudes like Hollywood glamour. Like growing up, every Christmas
She would be so
Eve-
pissed off if she heard you say that.
I don't care. It's true. Like she had a piano
Good thing she
player,
passed away years ago.
appetizers. And so I said, this Christmas we're going to bring back Granny E. So everyone brings something of Granny. So I think I'm going to bring her sterling silver punch bowl.
I'm going to bring her inability to stay awake past 9 o'clock.
That's true. That's true. But she saved Christmas.
Real talk.
I don't know what all we want to tell about the family on here, but
Don't go in there.
By the
Okay,
way,
so
I've
what do you
added some
got going on?
cheese.
What have you put on here?
We're
John?
back
That looks
there.
amazing.
I've topped, so I've stirred all that up and I've topped it with some just cheddar cheese that I grated up. And I'm just going to throw that in the oven for about 10 minutes just to melt that cheese.
While you have the oven open, I'm going to pull out my sprouts, which may have gone too far.
A little bit, but they look good to me.
Okay, actually.
All right. Those Brussels sprouts were looking good.
I'm sitting
While
back
she-
here because
Now I'm going to
there's
be
no
as bad.
place.
While she's getting the Brussels sprouts on, I'm going to go ahead and talk beverage just a little bit over here. So we want something easy, something that isn't a whole lot of effort, and I'm going to tell you one of my favorite things. Because
I love this cocktail.
because eggnog, we all love eggnog. Eggnog is delicious. Eggnog is wonderful. Eggnog is also a little bit of an opera production.
I
if you do
remember
it
one
right.
night, and I feel like I've told this every Christmas show we've had since then. One night I was at home and it was Christmas and I kind of wanted eggnog, but I didn't want something quite that heavy and I didn't really want to go to all the trouble. I just wanted like a nice creamy beverage to drink that felt Christmassy. And so I texted Jonathan and I said, Jonathan, what should I do? And he introduced me to the beautiful world of milk punches, which I have loved. I mean, I love a good eggnog, don't get me wrong. Liz Buchanan especially makes great eggnog every year.
My
But
man,
there's
my
something
man
about a
Mick
milk
Jeffries
punch.
up in Lexington. Look up Vampire Santa on Facebook if you want to buy some of his. But
What? But this is a drink that I
this
love.
is a drink, and this comes from Puerto Rico. This is coquito, is what this is called. So it's similar, but it's much simpler. So it starts with, of course, some rum, and I'm going to do. You can do a cup of rum for the amount we're making here, and a little for good measure. And then after that, it's several cans. So like many Latin American recipes often involve canned milks. So this is some evaporated milk. So I've got 1 can of evaporated. I've got 1 can of coconut milk. I've got a can of sweetened condensed milk.
One of my favorite substances in all this world.
So that one you got to scoop out a little bit. Would you go find
Look
some
at that.
glasses to something glass
Yeah.
to put this in? So 1 sweetened condensed milk, and then 1 can of Coco Lopez, and Coco Lopez is called cream of coconut. This is, I mean, coconut is the first ingredient on it, but it's one of those things that's just terribly artificial, but absolutely essential for things like this. For the magnificently essential for things like this and like a pina colada. I don't think a pina colada is quite right without some cocoa. So I'm going to add some vanilla from the Costco bottle of vanilla because that's how we roll. Then a bunch of cinnamon to that. And you know what? That's about it. I'm going to stir that. And that is some deliciousness right there. Now I am going to...
We forgot all our cocktail glasses tonight.
did,
I
so
found
we'll have-
one glass.
That'll work.
But
So-
we're going to drink out of little punch cups. Which
Now
is what we
sometimes
always
this
drink
will
out of.
thicken up, this will get a little bit too thick, and I like to add a little bit of water to it or some more rum if you want. Sometimes I will serve it over ice.
What's
but
that?
but this is, I went ahead because this is better after it sits for a while.
Oh.
So I'm going to leave this one probably for our friends here at the settlement school to enjoy. And I'm going to, this is some that I made a while back, and I'm going to go ahead and pour one of these. It gets a little lumpy. One thing I'll tell you is that before this Coco Lopez, before you use this, most of the time this is fairly old when it's sitting on a shelf, especially in eastern Kentucky, I'm sure. So if you'll run some hot water over it, or if you just pour some hot water over it before you serve it, that's a good idea. And then what I think sets this off is a little bit of nutmeg. So I'm going to take a nutmeg. Never, ever, ever, ever buy ground nutmeg. It's pointless. Tastes like nothing.
That smells so good.
And so just buy it whole and grate it up. It's really easy and much
Lasts
better.
a long time.
And so that is Coquito, and that's how long that took to make, and that's going to win your potluck right there.
Oh my, just that nutmeg, the smell of it.
Yeah, especially after it sits for a few days, let it all get nice and mellow. Get that rum in there. But this is yeah, that is Christmas time.
I need to be alone with that and maybe the rum bottle to put some more rum in it.
You can
I feel
always
like
add.
it's not quite rummy enough.
You can always add more.
But it's so good, and I love that it's better after it sits for a few days. Because
Yeah, it
we
is.
love that, right? We
Yeah,
love things that we
love
can
things that
make
we can
ahead.
make way ahead and just make a whole bunch of
This
and
is a
be
great
ready to
thing
go.
to just sort of have in your refrigerator and pull it out if you want
Yeah.
a little luxe evening, or if you have guests come by. I love this.
Yep.
It's delicious.
So what do you got going, Jenny?
Okay, so I've pulled my Brussels sprouts out there in the back, heating up. And the next thing, did I burn those again? Damn it.
I got it.
I think I did, though.
A little.
I told you I can't be trusted to fry things, but on top of the sweet potato latkes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a kale pesto. So when we think of pesto, we tend
yeah,
to
probably.
think
I think there's one
always of basil, but you can really make, pesto just means paste, so you can make it out of anything. So I have some kale here that I'm just going to sort of, I've de-stemmed it, or actually Kate de-stemmed it for me, and I'm just going to tear it up into this food processor, and I'm going to add to it some garlic, also done by Kate, quite a bit of it, really, because I want a lot of garlic. And I'm going to grind this up with some walnuts. And I'm just going to make a little pesto that's going to go on top of those latkes, if in fact I can stop burning them long enough to actually make them. I'm going to put a pretty healthy sprinkling of salt in that.
So we've talked a little bit about pestos on the show before, just different pestos that you can make. You know, really anything, it's like mash together anything green and nuts and some olive oil and whatever else you got, and that's a pesto.
Often it'll have cheese in it. I'm not putting cheese in this because I'm going to put some manchego cheese on top of it. So let's just give this a whir. And a taste with my silver tasting spoon. Needs more salt. think, a little bit more olive oil. The other thing that I'm going to serve with this, I have roasted some red grapes. Actually, I didn't roast these. I actually sauteed them. And I just put them just in a pan with a little olive oil. So these are just red grapes. I feel like Corey said he's never had roasted red grapes. Have we not made them
well,
on the
I'm pretty
show?
sure we've done it, and if we've not done it, we've at least talked about it, because it's one of those things
talk
that
about it a lot.
every time I have cooked grapes, I think, why don't I do this like all the time?
Because it's amazing. So I'm just going to take this glass and I'm just going to sort of crush these up. And this is going to go on top of the latke with the pesto. So all I did was just saute these in a pan with a little olive oil. They don't even have any seasoning in them. One of my favorite things to do with red grapes is when I'm roasting a chicken, in the last 15 or 20 minutes of cooking, I throw in red grapes. It's kind of pretty if you do it without taking them off the stems, but it's also a pain in the ass to eat that way. So, you know, presentation versus practicality. But I love to just roast red grapes in a pan with chicken. Sometimes I'll pull them out, or I won't roast them with the chicken. I'll take some of the chicken drippings and saute them in the chicken drippings, and then just like I said, just kind of mash them up. I usually don't puree it because I want some of that flavor, but roasting them gives them a whole new
It really does.
flavor that's really, really good. Did
Well,
I burn every single one of those?
No, they're okay.
They're
While
okay.
she's smashing, I'm going to put in a word for, look, here's something I'm big on this year. Edible gifts. Gifts that done, you know what I've got too much of in my house?
Stuff.
Crap. There's just way too much stuff in my house. I really, you know, this year I'm very much trying to push the idea of edible gifts, things that people will love. So here's one thing, you know, the classic old fruitcake, but this is the Frogtown fruitcake. This comes from right here at the Heinemann Settlement School. And
It's so good. Even
yeah.
if you think you don't like fruitcake,
so this
try
is
this.
the real thing. This is the great thing. So if you want to make anybody on your list happy, then right here is the way to go. And let's see, we want to take another break, and then we'll
let's do it.
let's do it. So once again, this is What's Cooking Now. Tonight we're showing you dishes for winning your potluck. And I'm Jonathan. That's Jenny, and we'll be right back.
Hazard Coffee Company is the sole specialty coffee shop in Perry County. Focusing on high-tech, high-quality coffee and espresso, Hazard Coffee Company seeks to cultivate a community environment around coffee. They have a variety of options, including your favorites such as mochas and cold brews, as well as specialties such as the Taxi Alley, always brewed to precise perfection. Stop by their shop located on Main Street in downtown Hazard, or order online for delivery with DoorDash or at hazardcoffeecompany.com. The Red Spotted Newt is a locally owned independent bookstore located in downtown Hazard, Kentucky, specializing in Appalachian literature from authors such as Silas House, Gurney Norman, and Annette Clapsaddle, among many others. The Newt also offers a full collection of art and gifts, including Little Bubby Child prints and these sweet cards inspired by The Office. Check out their store located at 221 Memorial Drive in Hazard, or shop online through bookshop.org. And be sure to follow them on Facebook and Instagram at the handle Red Spotted Newt.
Take your pointer finger, and I want you to mash down all the blue dots with one finger.
Okay.
Just one finger. Yeah. And hold it flat.
Any finger?
Hold it flat so you cover up all the strings.
Our Pick and Bow program is more than just music lessons. It's a way for young people to express themselves through music. Our wonderful team of music teachers seek to empower students to develop their own unique voice through music. Learning to play an instrument is often not an easy task. It's hard work, but it teaches valuable life skills like collaboration, active listening, and creative problem solving. And when young people are given the tools to be successful at something difficult, the confidence that emerges from that serves them in every area of their life. Bluegrass and traditional music is often played in group settings. And we believe this is really important because it helps young people connect with themselves and with others in their community and see their role in a group. And how do you add to the group sound, and how do you listen to what's going on around you and add to it? And because we focus on teaching traditional Appalachian instruments and songs, young folks are not only learning about Appalachian music, but they are actively participating in the rich musical traditions of Appalachia and Eastern Kentucky and claiming it as their own.
And we're back on What's Cooking Now.
Bring me some nutmeg on there.
Yeah, we're gonna get a nutmeg, some more coquito up here.
So just, you have something super quick to make.
I have
something
something quick, yep.
super quick to make. Who wants to go first?
Well, you go ahead.
Okay, so what I'm gonna make, I'm obsessed, low-key, with nutritional yeast. And I know that sounds like a ridiculously 57-year-old woman thing to say, but I am. I just love the way it tastes. I love it on popcorn, which is a pretty standard thing to do. But I also really love to make sort of a little dip sort of thing with it. So I'm gonna just take a handful of cashews. This is, a lot of people are like, this is vegetarian cheese, but following what we said earlier, it's not either. It's not vegetarian anything. It's a delicious thing in its own right that is not replacing anything else. And I'm gonna make this to serve with the Brussels sprouts that I have smashed and crisped. So I'm just kind of eyeballing this. I'm just making it up. I put some cashews in there. I put some nutritional yeast. I'm going to put some olive oil. Good healthy pinch of not the drink, salt.
Did you get one?
And a little splash of apple cider vinegar.
Okay.
You could also use lime juice if you wanted. You really can vary this any way that you want it. And I'm going to just use an immersion blender to sort of grind this up.
That's delicious.
Isn't that good, Kate?
So delicious.
Jonathan brought this to my house in this really beautiful blue sort of beaker thing
Yeah, yeah.
that I kept for about 3 years before I gave it back. But I finally gave it back, right?
Yeah, we got it back. Yeah, we got it.
So this is definitely not loose enough to be a dip. I'm going to add some oil to it. And you can really do whatever you want with this. Sometimes I add fresh parsley because it looks pretty. Sometimes I add, I'm not making this because it's vegan, so if I'm making it for myself, sometimes I add cheese to it, which I know may seem crazy.
Well, you know, it works.
But I just love the flavor. It needs more salt. That's so good, though.
You need salt, but it's
One
good.
of the best holiday drinks I've ever had.
Isn't that good? Isn't it holiday-ish?
And you saw how long it took to make.
Can you make it ahead of time, or do you?
I usually put a little liquid aminos in it or soy sauce, but tonight I was not. I think I'm good with it like it is.
Do I need to set up the timer here?
I think we're good.
Hold on, let me just see. A little bit more vinegar, maybe?
A little.
Maybe some lime juice, actually. Oh yeah, I think so. Okay, you time, I'll plate.
All right. So I've got one more dish here to make for you, and this one is so. This is the one I'm saying that maximizes the little effort, lot of joy axis. And to prove it, in order to prove my point here, I'm going to time myself on how long it takes to make this this classic dish, so we'll kind of see how. And we'll see how this goes. So I'm starting now. 1 tub of Cool Whip. Yes, you can make your own whipped cream if you want, but your grandma used Cool Whip, so that's what I'm going to do here myself. I've got 1 can of crushed pineapple, and dump that in. I've got 1 envelope of pistachio pudding. Yes, the green kind. Except no substitutes. I've got coconut. I'm going to add about 1 cup of coconut, which is about half of one of these bags. I'm going to add walnuts. I'm going to put in about half a cup of walnuts, the crushed up kind, like that. I'm going to add about 2 cups of marshmallows, the little bitty ones, and that's about a third of one of these bags. And then I'm going to add maraschino cherries, and I've got both the red kind and the green kind. Now I know what you're saying. You're saying, Jonathan, the green ones, really? Those are so unnatural. I'm sorry, but if you think cherries exist in nature, that color, then you're the one with the problem. So I'm adding the green ones too, because it's festive. I'm going to stir all that up.
That looks lovely.
Bang, done.
What was your time?
1 minute, 24 seconds is how long
That's
it took
pretty
to make this
impressive.
gorgeous marshmallow salad, which is
I
and
love any
lots
kind of salad.
Lots of names for this. Some people call it ambrosia. Some people just call it. I think my great grandmother
my father
made
would
it
roll
pink.
in his grave if he heard you call that ambrosia, because
Yeah.
he used to make my Aunt Susie sit and what's it called when you take the oranges and you French Supreme. He used to
them.
make her Supreme oranges, and I mean he was very picky about his ambrosia.
Now, what I've done is I've put this in the fanciest vessel that I could
Oh, that's
manage.
beautiful! Look at that.
In this gorgeous little vessel. We'll add a spoon to that. And I mean, literally, you take this to a potluck, you're not bringing any home. You're just not.
Because you've got to love that.
Because and what's great about it is that here in the South, we call this a side dish. This kind
I know. I love that it's a salad.
kind of looks as a dessert, but if you've got ham,
it's a salad.
if you've got ham, that is the best side dish with ham ever. So that right there,
agree with you there.
1 minute and 24 seconds for maximum joy. Now, I guess while I'm at it, we'll get over to this. Well, actually, I'll just. Can you grab me a dish towel out of there
Here, I have one right here.
that I can use as a hot pad? All right, because my buffalo dip I brought out just a minute ago, and I'm gonna. Well, let me stack up another one just to be all safe. So I'm serving this right in the skillet, by the way.
Which I think is lovely.
Yeah.
I love a good cast iron skillet.
And that's that's why I pulled the cast iron out. So this has been about 10 minutes in the oven.
Cast iron skillets of the Hyman Settlement
So
School
that
could use a little love.
look at that, look at that.
Oh my! Look at that bubbling.
So then I'm going to top
Yes.
this off. I've got a couple of toppers for this. One is some blue cheese, because again, buffalo and blue cheese just go
Gotta
together.
have it.
And again, this is an indulgent dish. This is for my this is an indulgent dish for my
You
vegetarians.
know, I feel like we should write a cookbook, or you should write a cookbook that's called "Vegetarian Doesn't Have to Mean Healthy."
Exactly. And then I'm going to hit that with some green onions. And I've cut these on. We were listening to an episode of The Splendid Table over the weekend, and they had the great Vivian Howard on, who was talking about how they love at their restaurant. They always cut scallions and everything on what they call a severe bias, and that does make them really pretty when you kind of cut them the long way. Kind of cut them at a
So
severe
just
angle,
really
at a steep angle.
Like you just put them down and sort of just do it at a super
Yeah.
angle. I like that.
So there it
Look
is.
at that. That is beautiful.
That is a potluck dish to die for. Now you could dip anything you wanted to in that, and it would be fantastic. You can do vegetables if you want. I'm a purist. I like a good quality tortilla chip, especially if you can find the heavy ones, the nice big sort of home style ones.
Oh my God, looks perfect. I mean, it's perfect. Like
Yep.
it's just the right spice. Getting that back burn now.
Yep.
I love it.
Love it, love it, love it.
Can we try mine?
Please.
So, I have my crispy smashed Brussels sprouts with the dip. Let's try that first.
Those Brussels sprouts are perfect because they've been smashed, so they've got that plenty of surface area to get nice and
I'm gonna eat
roasty.
another one. I love Brussels sprouts. And then here are
Your little latkes.
my latkes with the. I've just put a piece of a little bit of the kale on
Grab a
top,
couple spoons.
and then the
grapes
sautéed
and the-
grapes, and then a little manchego cheese.
Oh my. That is hard to go wrong with.
That's good. You want one, Tamara?
What kind of question is that? Like a hot woman?
I probably, if I were making this for potluck, would actually get somebody else, like maybe my son, to fry them, so I wouldn't burn them, and would make them smaller, so they'd be one bites. You know.
That would be nice.
But they're good.
And then let's close it down.
I'm
with a
gonna
little-
make it one bite.
Let's close it down with a little green salad. So we got those multicolored cherries in there.
Look at that. I don't want the green. You know I love salad.
That just tastes like dinner at my granny's house. It really does. It's one of those things that has been, has been in the.
That's so good.
Yeah, I mean, and that's good. And
That
again,
made me real nostalgic. It made me feel some kind of way.
and it will make people smile all night when they'll
really
smile when
will.
they see it. They'll smile when they eat it. They'll keep eating it. And it took 1 minute and 24 seconds
That's amazing.
to make. So this is to me, this is your winner. This is how you win your potluck. And
So-
let's show it, Sam. If you got your.
Got the refund. The antlers did not work.
Well, sometimes it doesn't.
It doesn't. This is true.
So I can't wait to see Tamara's gingerbread house. And in the meantime, we hope that all of you are winning your potlucks and winning your Christmas. And remember, sometimes all you have to bring is your appetite.
Yeah, the plan was to give it little antlers.
Oh,
But
super
they did
cute.
not work.
But look, she's used an edible gold spray paint. I don't know if you can.
You can get it at Walmart.
How
I
pretty!
picked it
Isn't
up
that
at lunchtime
beautiful?
yesterday.
I feel like if you brought this to a potluck, everybody would be absolutely beside
Yeah,
themselves with
I
joy.
mean, bring a little extra candy, some royal icing, let people play with it.
Let people decorate.
Yeah.
Oh my God! What a great idea to put together a gingerbread house,
Yeah.
and bring candy and let the guests.
Yeah,
all-
let people decorate it, and then at the end of the night, hit it with a hammer and eat
I'm
it.
stealing this from some
Right?
for some party that I'm having.
Well, we hope that whatever potluck you're going to win it, or you're at least gonna. But I think everybody walks away a winner. We are What's Cooking Now, coming to you from the Hyman Settlement School, and with support from the Kentucky Humanities Council. And we want to thank our crew, thank our tasting panel today, thank
Absolutely.
Kate for joining us, thank Tamara as always for joining us and sharing her gingerbread magic with us. And you can find us on Facebook. We're pretty easy to locate. And
What's cooking now?
until next time.
Love the ones you feed
And feed the ones you love.
Merry
Merry
Christmas.
Christmas.
What's Cooking Now is a production of Hyman Settlement School, with funding provided by the Kentucky Humanities Council. Hyman Settlement School is committed to cultivating and growing the local food system and the unique culinary and agricultural traditions of Central Appalachia through our foodways programs. For more information on our work, visit us at www.hyman.org and be sure to tune in to What's Cooking Now on the first Thursday of each month to see what's cooking.